Hello, again.
Good evening. It is evening. Oh, well, it looks like evening, but it's afternoon.
It's getting dark.
Yeah, it's getting a bit nippy.
My favourite two lists. You can tell, can't you, we're putting on stream what I want to watch. No one else gets a choice. You do get a choice, by the way. If anyone wants to put in the comments what you might want to see, we've got one more game where we're going to decide.
Yeah, and then the final game will be Table 1.
Table 1, proper Table 1, not moving everything around. So for this game, we've got Edzig with his Empire of Dust.
Edzig.
Edzig? Was that his real name? Yeah, it's done now.
Yeah.
Julio and his Empire of Dust.
Julio with his Empire of Dust versus Dave Fletcher with his dwarfs. Against one.
Yes, Dave Fletcher has dwarfs.
Yep.
These two are currently sitting at, I will tell you in a minute, effectively mid-table.
Effectively mid-table, that helps a lot, that. Sometimes I think that like the shot of us is a bit deceptive because we've got names underneath us. It makes us look like we're actually our people. Oh well.
Yeah.
Yes. So
currently 7th and 8th for these two.
7th and 8th. Cool.
So mid-table. Exactly mid-table. I think it'll be a really, really good game, this.
Yes.
So, you know, we've already been through the list again, but to say it, I really, really like Dave's list. I've mentioned it a few times.
Really? I hadn't heard you say that.
Yeah, I love it.
Is it going to be interesting?
It will be interesting, yeah. Well, actually, this will be very, very standard Kings of War, which is what we want. We want standard and uniform and regiment. David's dwarf list is what you want from a rank flank.
It's got
game.
three battle groups, hasn't it? It's got his Vanguard in Rangers. It's got his Iron Guard just being a roadblock in the middle of the battlefield. Then it's got his Brock Riders riding off and causing merry havoc.
You've got shooting, you've got Flying King, you've just got all the elements that are really nice. You've nothing stupid and gimmicky, and it's not 6 regiments of Brock Riders, it's not Earth Elementals everywhere and no actual dwarf infantry.
It's got a battle driller.
It's got a battle driller, it's got chaff in his dogs.
Yeah.
It's a really good all-round list, I feel. So we're playing Eliminate here, which will be interesting. His 3 most expensive Berserkers, I think. Both the Berserkers. And then it might be one of his range units.
Yep, so he has a choice of range unit. We'll have to go and ask him which one.
So it's his 2 Berserker Brock Rider regiments and one of his rangers.
Yep.
Now, that probably won't play in his favour here, I don't think, because they're going to be the units
you want to put in harm's way.
Yeah, maybe not so much one of the rangers, but they're also one of the squishier things in the list of the defence 4.
Well, so you put them in harm's way, but they are there to put early pressure on the enemy, and that indicates that they will come under pressure themselves.
Yeah, definitely. So, but also the Brock Riders can get in and kill things in combat, so it's not like you've got the issue of not getting any of the points from from combat kills.
I think the interesting thing with both these lists is that most of the damage is going to be done through melee, so they're going to get the full points for kills, I think.
So Ed's list, Empire of Dust, his 3 most expensive, I'll go through what he's got in a minute, will be the Revenants, then it'll be the Bone Dragon, which is fairly squishy ones I have, and the Pharaoh on Chariot.
Yep.
Again, not the highest nerve things in there.
The Revenants
are definitely, a big change there. But again, you're not having wild amounts of shooting that are going to snipe them off. There's no hordes. So you've got the Rangers.
So Dave has got to grind against Ed, which probably doesn't play into his strengths.
Although the Brock Riders will grind fairly well.
Yeah,
a lot of attacks,
and they are very high nerve, of course. And that's always the tricky thing. Is just chewing through that much nerve is always a problem.
I don't know if I want to switch to table rather than looking at our lovely faces. You just have a look at.
You don't want our faces on.
Lovely.
Go on, say it.
Oh, lovely armour.
Okay, I thought you were going to say. Never mind.
No, don't know. Oh.
Okay, we'll switch to the table view.
There we go. Lovely table view.
So the camera hasn't been knocked. We don't have to spend 5-10 minutes shouting for the next room. No, left bits, left, up,
pivot, twist. Yes.
So yeah, Ed's got a massive footprint in his army with the 2 Revenant chariot hordes.
Yeah, so this is a different but similar Empire of Dust list.
Yeah.
What I've just seen.
I mean, the monsters look very familiar.
Monsters are very similar. The Mummies and the Revenants do a similar job to the 2 Revenant hordes we saw on the last stream. 2 chariot hordes, slightly different way of doing it. Not nimble on these ones, interestingly, but I feel when you've got 2, for some reason it just plays so differently to 1, as in like you can actually have a dedicated chariot flank rather than just a horde sort of in there somewhere. The Flying Pharaoh, I think, is a big difference in this list, personally. We didn't see as much use of the heal 7 in the last list. This has got 2 heal 4s. It doesn't have the lightning bolts, doesn't really have that chip damage that we saw actually really come into big effect in the end with the waver on the Quadron Wing Slasher.
Sorry, I'm just trying to get the chat up. The chat up.
Mine, here it is.
Sorry, I was distracted there.
No, that's fine.
Yeah, it's going to have to be you. Mine's not working properly. Sorry, we're just getting the chat up. Sorry, we forgot to get that up beforehand. Sorry, you were saying about a winged slasher.
No, we're just saying that it doesn't have that chip shooting. It doesn't have that lightning bolt 4. I know it didn't seem like a lot, but actually it came to be
quite pivotal in the end, wasn't it? Yeah. But then Ed's not up against any flyers.
No, there's no big flying monster this time. There's a flying king, but you're not going to be shooting that.
No.
Not with a defense 6 and individual.
No. Flying King's potentially a threat to the High Priest. I'll tell you what, though, I reckon his Pharaoh is going to make a beeline for the Rangers scoring unit, whichever it is.
Because you get him into there and they'll struggle to break him, actually.
Yeah. And he'll do at least enough, if not enough, at least enough damage to kill them, if not enough to put them in enough danger that a tap will do it.
I also don't see him being needed for much else. There's not like big shooting hordes you've got to shut down.
No.
Or anything like that.
So yeah, that's the only shooting in the list is the Rangers. The Brock Riders could potentially be another good target for the Pharaoh, because if you knock out their Thunder's Charge... Oh, he's defense 5, isn't he? He's not 6.
Yeah, and there is Bane Chant.
Yeah, true. Sorry, ignore me on that one.
They would shoot through him. There's a lot of attacks there.
Yeah. Yep, I was wrong. Ignore me.
I mean, there is the token in the middle to think about. Both have got, armies to deal with that, haven't they? And go for that. That's not so much of a concern here. It's not like one army can't sit in the middle and hold points. I think both can, really. We've got the 2 Iron Guard regiments that will be interesting. Yes, did it? Drink for the middle there. So I'm just going to go check everybody's underway with their games because we were a bit delayed starting.
I don't think I could call this matchup, whichever way it's going to go. I'd say they're fairly evenly matched in terms of hitting power. Ed obviously got his monsters, but I think David's got the attacks to deal with them. It's certainly going to be an interesting game to see who can outgrind who. Hello.
Oh, sorry. Room early was Kate calling him.
He's gone through to the other room. So we've got the token in the centre, that's the tie-break decider. So if anyone doesn't remember, in this scenario you pick the 3 most expensive non-individual units in your army. They get a token. If you rout that unit in combat, you effectively get 2 victory points. If you rout it with shooting, you get 1. And then there's an additional victory point for the 2 victory points for the token in the centre. And that's there as a bit of a tiebreaker. So like we were discussing earlier, Ed is going to be trying to kill 2 regiments of Brock Riders and a regiment of Rangers, whichever one. I think it's Ed who chooses which one. And then David is going to be trying to kill the Revenant Horde, the Bone Dragon, and one of the Bone Giants. I do apologise about the lack of list on the screen. I've not really had time to try and edit the layout of the screen. See if we get time before tomorrow, but no promises on that. Might be something we have to edit for YouTube. Yeah, by all means. Have you decided which one of your...
Yeah, we've done that.
Okay, cool, yeah, go for it.
Okay, do you want... Okay, so they've got tokens, so they will be visible from above.
Alright, thank you. Cheers, guys. Cool, so they're gonna get started now. Don't know where he's got to. Went to the main room and he's not come back. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, yeah. Cool, sorry, yeah, go sorry. Yeah. No worries, mate.
This word is the same as it is for all the other novels.
Yeah, cool. Alright. Okay, well this is going to be interesting. Elliot has had to rush out unexpectedly, so you have me, myself, and I. So, this is, yeah, I almost need to find a random mantic staffer here to sit them down in the seat and get them to just be somebody that I talk at, because it seems quite strange talking to myself. Okay, well, anyway, let's have a look at what's happened so far. I see Chariots Horde and Regiment of... Why did I just put the army lists away? That was a bit daft of me, wasn't it? Okay, so... Yeah, we got the Ed on the top of the table, we got Dave on the bottom. I said bottom. Dave taking up the centre with his Iron Guard, so he is aiming to take that central objective with them, which would be what they're exactly there to do. Where is the rest of his stuff going? So he's got his dogs going down. Oh, so that's what he's got his chaff for. That's clever. Right, so he's got, I believe what he's going to be doing is putting his dogs in, well, yeah, so he'll put his dogs in front of his rangers. Yes, he'll vanguard his rangers, but then turn one, he can move his dogs up in front of his rangers, and that just keeps the rangers safe for another turn. Oh, that's interesting. I thought they were just, yeah, there it goes. Oh, look at that. How good is that? I'm going to have to get that up on my phone, aren't I? Because I can't see on Elliot's phone what's going on. Oh. This is going to be a disaster, me talking to myself for an hour and a half, isn't it? Let's hope someone finishes their game early and I can start talking to them. Right, I need you to change your quality so I'm not using all my 4G. Why aren't you changing? Sorry guys, just bit of a spanner in the works there with Elliot, unfortunately I haven't stuck out. Right, I can see the chat, so I can't see anything prior to that, so I hope there wasn't anything too bad there, but I can see it now. Hopefully I can see it now. I hope that refreshes. Right, okay, so we have what looks like a bit of a pincer movement from Ed at the top, with his two chariots coming down, one down either flank. Davis continuing to set up his ranger contingent, taking the hill, taking the high ground, so that he can get maximum height benefit from those shooting units. And of course, the really good thing about rangers is because they advance on with their bows, they're not actually at -1 to shoot in the first turn, and they can do surprising amounts of damage, I have to say. I've gone up against rangers before and been really surprised by the amount of damage that they just throw out on that first turn. I've certainly had some unexpected waivers from them onto key units. I believe that would be a Pharaoh who's trying to get into... Pretty sure that's a Pharaoh. That looks like it's on a flying carpet. Fantastic. We like to see that sort of training. Right, okay, so I think Dave is going to go for refuse flank, so he's going to put his Brocs on this flank too. And that's going to effectively nullify the counters to the range contingent that have been deployed here. Is anyone in the chat room? Can somebody type something so I can make sure that I can actually see what's happening in the chat room? And if you do, can you possibly message me on Facebook, because I know that I'm getting that message. Thank you. Okay, oh right, okay, so Dave split his Brocs up. There we go, yes, I can see you all. 3 messages. So Titcher 86. I'm not quite sure who's got the better matchup. Hey, Twitch. I don't think either of them has got. Neither of them got a bad matchup. Neither of them have got a steamroll matchup, which is one of the reasons why I wanted to watch this. because it is going to be that interesting. I mean, no, I couldn't put money either way on who's got the better matchup. Now I know that Ed is a fantastic player. I've unfortunately not had the pleasure, at least not that I recall, had the pleasure of playing Dave before, so I'm not as sure of his tactics. There goes the handshake. Who's got turn 1? Not sure who's got turn 1. I think. There we go. Dave's got turn 1. So I think he won the roll and took it. So the good thing about the Rangers, as I was saying, is because they vanguarded, they don't get the -1 to hit that is normally associated with them. Associated with bow units moving on the first turn anyway. And with them shooting on 4 up, that makes them quite effective. He is measuring to the bone giant. I'm not sure whether I would personally be looking more to shoot at the chariots instead, personally. They are lower defense, which means that you're more likely to damage them. I believe that's a cursed high priest next to, yeah, that will be cursed high priest between the 2 units there, which means that I guess the minimum sort of damage that you would do on the bone giant is going to be healed up pretty sharpish. So I would hope that he would be shooting. Yes, please do, please do. In fact, one thing I've not said to them is for them to point and gesture what they're doing. So I'm just going to nip out for 2 seconds and ask them to do that. Be back very shortly. Yep, so shooting into the chariots there. We'll be needing 4s. And this will be one with... I missed that, I didn't see how much damage that was, I was looking elsewhere. 2 damage, that looks like. This will be the second unit. So it's... Oh, you can talk away about me, just... It's fine. I did say I was only going to be gone a second, didn't I? Oh wow, that's significant. So that's 8 damage already put on the chariots, and they have got a nerve of -18, so that's another 2 as well. So that puts them on 10. So it would be an 8 to break, which is very difficult to do. However, although he's done it there, inspiring. No, not there. What he has done really well there is that the cursed priest that's sat in between them, his heal 4 can be really, really good. And we've seen examples of really good healing already today. If he'd have shot at the bone giant, I fear that he'd only do sort of 2 or 3 damage, which the healing would bring back anyway. But with him putting 10 damage on those chariots, that's significant, is that? That's enough to guarantee that the damage is going to stick, and the heal's not going to make that much difference. I would be quite surprised if those chariots survive to the next turn, assuming that Dave can shoot at them again. Ed, of course, has got his winged Pharaoh moving down the right-hand flank, ready to charge the Rangers. It's going to be a tough matchup, but Dave does have his dogs there, so hopefully for his sake he'll be able to block some charges. So that has to be his bone dragon. That doesn't have wings. At least on this. Or maybe those bits sticking out the side are wings. His chariots there on the left-hand flank, ready to shoot the Brock, start putting some damage on. Now they're very unlikely. Would the damage... the chariots by themselves are very unlikely to break the Brocks with such high nerve. But the thing with Brocks is you need to grind through that nerve at some point, so a few extra points of damage can reduce the number of turns that you're grinding against them. Situations if the damage on the chariots so early would change the game plan. I'm not sure. At this point in the game, I would be looking for ways that I could protect those chariots for a few more turns while my, at least if I was in Ed's shoes, I'd be looking to see if I could move them somewhere where they wouldn't be taking much damage. Maybe I would move them behind the building so that at least they would have cover. And that would potentially protect them long enough to heal up. But I'm not convinced that that's a particularly long-term game plan. Now, it doesn't look like Ed is particularly going to change his game plan. I mean, he's not moved them, so he's going to shoot with them by the look of it. That's pretty nice deal. 3 back. Takes down 7. He did, yes, Canadian people. He's put one of his eliminate tokens on the Pharaoh on Chariot. It's not an individual, so it can go on him. The only restriction is that eliminate tokens can't go on individuals. Because if your opponent is smart, you will never get to kill an expensive individual unless they want you to. So a couple of points of damage off the Brocks there by the look of it. I think that was 2 points of damage. That's 4 damage on the Brocks again. Again, that's just chipping away. Perhaps his game plan is to chip away with those chariots while the giant starts getting stuck in, and because the chariots have weakened it so much, the bone giant has got a decent chance of breaking through. And I think the flaw with that thinking, if that is indeed its thinking, is that Dave has actually got a fair number of units, and he can chaff that giant up and stop it from getting involved with the two eliminate tokens there. And said that, Ed has also got his Pharaoh there, and if a unit is sufficiently weakened, then that's certainly an option too. What's he doing here? Yeah, if a unit has been weakened, then how's he done that? Oh, I didn't sort out that move. I'm not sure how the Rangers moved backwards that far. The Brocks in this case... So they're setting up a counter charge on the giant if it does indeed charge. Perhaps from that angle. So what I was thinking, no, that doesn't block. Right. So what I was thinking is to use the Brock Riders to protect the flank of the Rangers which have the eliminate token on them, because the Pharaoh going into those Rangers would be fairly painful for those Rangers. They might eventually grind him down. They might not. That'd be a 50-50 shot of that Pharaoh taking out a scoring unit in combat, which would be 2 victory points. So the chance that I would take. So he's quite scared of those monsters. He's shuffling back. I'm not sure whether that's the right thing to do or not. But then he doesn't really have any hammers on that flank to hit back in return. There's the battle drill. That can do a bit of damage. So that would be the king with wings that he's just moving on the left there. Probably hoping to charge the chariots up on the hill. And generally be annoying. Which is the best use for that thing. We've got more shots at the chariots. That looks like a decent roll. That's a lot of 5s and 6s there. Ooh, very nice. Now he's needing 4s to wound or damage. Puts it back up to 10, I believe. So the question is whether he can, with these, with the second set of shots, whether he's going to have enough to put them in real danger territory. So that's another 2 that I saw there. Oh no, it must be on 14. So yeah, that's real danger territory now. He's putting another couple of shots into them just for the sake of getting rid of them. There's another point of damage, which I think is all he needed. And nerve test to take them off. Ooh. Yep, they're gone. So he rolled a 3 there, almost got his double 1. That is fairly significant, that, because that's that flank pretty much locked down, I would say. The Pharaoh's annoying. So there's a winged Pharaoh out on that flank. The Bone Giant, I don't think that's going to be too much of a problem, but the combination of the Rangers and the Brocks. I think the only threat on that flank now is the Pharaoh. That's going to be the only tricky thing for it, I think. Which of course I'd send straight in. We are on turn 2, aren't we? So I should update that. Ed's weighing his choices there, because if he charges those dogs, and those dogs are the only thing that's being presented to him, of course the problem is that he's going to get flanked by the Brock Riders. Now, it's been a long time since I played a Surge army, so I'm not sure I'm seeing any Surge shenanigans myself. That Cursed High Priest at the back is too far back, really, to use his Surge. I don't see him being able to cast it on the Bone Giant if Ed could get it to somewhere that's mighty annoying. So this is quite interesting. What he's doing is he's checking what the Brocks can see, and he's put a marker there so that he can move his unit into safety. Give it as much view as possible. So in this case, the Bone Dragon, presumably that's what that is. Oh, it's got a token on it, so it must be the Bone Dragon. The Bone Dragon is angling so that it can see the Brock Riders, but it cannot be seen by Brock Riders. Sort of goes back to what we were talking about in the last game, but Dave's got the option of charging into the Bone Dragon with the King with Wings. Unfortunately, that does present. Unfortunately, the way that you can angle the a monster base after the individual backs off an inch actually gives you a lot more of an angle than you'd really think just looking at it. And the same goes for regiments as well. Just move it all the way through the individual's base, you can actually turn quite a distance away and still get the charges on things that your opponent thought was safe. I think it's crunch time. What does Ed do on this flank? Is that enough to get him out of charge range from Brocks? I'm guessing it must be, or he wouldn't have moved it there. So otherwise those Brocks have got a lovely flank lined up on the Bone Giant. So these rods that Ed's using, he uses really efficiently, but they're all pre-marked to a specific range, and rather than using a tape measure to check the distance between two objects, which has the flaws of you having to hover it over the right point, instead what he can do is he can just place that rod in between, and if the rod doesn't touch the bases, you know it's out of range. You know how long the rod is, and it's got some sort of screw system, so we can adjust the length by taking sections off. So Jarrett's into the Brocks, he's trying to chip off some more damage. Of course, the danger with shooting units in Eliminate is that you run the risk of actually killing them with shooting, and quite often you don't want to do that. Another 3 points of damage there, it's probably not enough to put them in any danger. I remember playing against Dan King one time, and for two of the units that he needed to kill, he was like, well, I need to put some damage on them. Not enough to break them, just enough that when I do charge them, they are definitely going to die. He actually killed both of them via shooting, because he rolled way above average on his damage rolls. And the fact that he only got 1 victory point for his kills rather than 2 victory points gave me the win. while Dave's cleared up on the right hand flank, except for the Pharaoh there, which I'm not quite sure how he's going to deal with it, I certainly wouldn't leave it to chance that the Rangers are going to kill the Pharaoh. I would perhaps turn the Brox towards the Pharaoh myself. It's a lot of points going to something that isn't worth many points, but it's all about the objectives. But while Dave's managed to win out on the was that a waiver? No, it wasn't. While Dave's managed to win out on the right hand flank there, Ed is getting quite aggressive in the centre of the board, and Dave is going to have to commit at some point. So on to Dave's turn 3. I think it's the turn where Dave's going to have to commit, because otherwise he's going to have those shamblers being surged into him, and at that point he's lost the initiative. So there's a few options that Dave can try. One of the things that would be quite interesting for him to do would be a potential. I would consider potentially sacrificing the Dwarf King. Now, if he sent the... I don't know. Tricky. If you sent the Dwarf King and sat it in front of the Revenant Horde, they'd probably be grinding against him for a little bit. The other option would be to send it into the chariots and shut down that shooting, so that's the plinking away that gets disrupted. But also, even though it's flying, it's still speed 10, so the chariots can countercharge it. Yeah, they'll probably strip off the fly. They're not going to kill it. But the next turn, the king can still charge 363s and still charge up to 20 inches. Your options would not be that limited. So we've got counter charge onto the Pharaoh. Yeah, he's going to turn the Brox towards the Pharaoh, isn't he? Now, of course, what Ed can do at this point is he can send the Pharaoh off somewhere else. But what it does mean is he's not hitting those ranges and getting the victory points in at the end of the game. We've got more aggression with the dogs getting up in the giant's face. Are you doing anything with the centre battle line? Because you might regret it if you don't do something now. Of course, the issue with anything in Empire Dust is that the surge is so good. I mean, Ed has got, just on his High Priest, he's got a total of 20 surge. So an average of an extra 10-inch move, that's huge. Those mummies, there's not really anywhere that you could get where you wouldn't be in very serious danger of them being surged in. And they're going to make a mess of Iron Guard. Yeah, he's sending the king in against the chariots. There's not a whole lot of reasons not to. He shuts down the shooting, and they've only got Thunderous Charge. So the damage that they're going to deal back is fairly minor against Defense 6. Or at least should do back. I'm not saying that they will only do minor damage. They should only do minor damage. But he still has near complete freedom the turn after. Oh, it's going into the High Priest. That's interesting. So shooting into that. He's doing a bit of damage. 3 damage there. Still needs 3 damage in total. So he still needs 10 to break twice. But it's a little bit of chipping here and there. A lot of the time with Empire Dust, if you can shut down their surge, then you shut down a lot of the army's utility. So that's 3 damage against. So that was the Rangers versus the Pharaoh there. That's 3 damage. Would be enough to break it, but it does strip fly. Still speed 10. He's got the Brox there. The Pharaoh has to go somewhere else. It's going to die next to him if it doesn't. Into the chariots. That's well and truly disordered. 3 damage. No risk of breaking, but they're not doing anything next turn. And that's over to Ed. For Ed's turn 3. So he's multi-charging. That's going to be quite painful, is that? So a giant into 1 Iron Guard regiment, a giant and the Revenants into the other. Now, there might be defense 6, but that's still going to hurt. Dave doesn't have any healing to really sustain massive amounts of damage. And of course those giants are crushing strength 3. So the defense 6 is not going to help much against them. Now, is he going to commit the Bone Dragon? I guess that's the decision. It is one of the scoring units, so it would be a risk to send it in. I think I would personally hold off on it. Those Brox in the bottom left, they are going to be coming out of terrain, so they are going to be hindered if they charge the horde in front of them. Though I'm guessing that those are the ones with Pathfinder. Don't know for definite, but I would assume those are the ones with Pathfinder, so they're going to be fine coming out of terrain. So just checking Facebook comments quickly while there was a minor lull, I think, while Ed decides what to do with the Pharaoh. So he is sending it back in. Okay, is he? No, he's not. He's sending it away. Sending it off. So he's out of the range, charge range. He's effectively keeping those units, both the Brox and the Rangers, tied up for the rest of the game. That I imagine that's how that flank's gonna go on. But that's two of the units that Ed needs to kill, and I don't really see, other than that Pharaoh, any way that he's going to be able to do it. As long as Dave can always keep that Pharaoh in the front flanks of both of those units. I don't see any way that Ed can really grind out against either of those units. So that Bone Dragon's moving up in support. It's a decent position. It's a position with lots of threat. The really good thing about Bone Dragons is, of course, that they fly and shamble in the right circumstance. That means that you can jump over the top of something, pivot 180 degrees because of your fly, and then be surged into the rear or something. And that makes Bone Dragons really, really threatening. Yes, threatening. Could not remember my word there for a second. But being in the centre there, that gives him a really good threat. He's got good angles on a lot of Dave's units. Even the army standard bearer that's just by Dave's hand there at the bottom of the table. If Dave doesn't move that somewhere to safety, that Bone Dragon can actually charge that individual, and at that point it's behind Dave's lines. So that will be a big deal if Dave doesn't spot that. And it's the same with the driller as well. The dragon can actually get a charge off on the driller, and either of those is going to leave Dave fairly unable to respond, potentially other than the driller. Okay, so what Ed's doing is he's healing his priest, because he knows how much of his army relies on his surgeon healing abilities, and he can't risk that damage continuing to pile up on the high priest and him losing his heal and surge. And I think especially with the dragon getting to its current position, that surge is, I'd say, probably going to come into quite a lot of use very shortly. Not sure which combat this is. I missed the... Oh, this will be a first defense. Okay, yep, so chariots into the king. They did 3 damage. That was quite good. They do need... Oh, I think that's a waver. Nope, 1 shot. King is 13-15, so it needs 13 to waver. So they needed a 10 to waver. I thought it was 12-14, but no, it's 13-15. So he's fine, luckily. That would have been frustrating if... if the king had been wavered. That was 5 damage against the Iron Guard. That's not going to be enough to break them. I mean, that's a bounce, but I think that's what I was expecting it to be. Well, I think you're hoping for a bit too much to expect a Bone Giant to break Iron Guard in 1 round, but what Ed can do really well is just grind those Iron Guard down, and every point of damage sticks. It's not like his Bone Giant where Dave can deal damage back, but Ed can heal it back very easily. So mummies into dogs, that's a win for the mummies. The question is, what does he do here? Because if he advances, it would help him out in the next turn, but it would put him at risk of a flank charge from those dogs. So yeah, staying there, staying put, the best option there. Okay, so that's a 6 for the other Giants attacks, I think. Ooh, is that all hits? That is all hits. That's painful. Oh, was it? Maybe it's not then. Revenants going in. So 25 attacks. They did come from terrain, so it's going to be hitting on 5s. So, Amastev, unfortunately we've not had time to upload the results. For a Master tournament, things seem to be slipping behind schedule a little bit, so straight after each round, me and Ellie have been jumping straight on here. I think tomorrow we'll put priority on Ellie bringing his laptop, at least sitting down in front of the screen, so that he can upload the results as we're doing the commentary for the next round. But for the moment, I don't have the results to upload, and Elliott's laptop is elsewhere. What I will be doing is I'll be uploading them at the end tonight, so that you can have a look at the results overnight. But it won't be till this round finishes, I'm afraid. So Ed has bounced off, but that's kind of expected with Ed. His army is fairly hitty at the moment, but it's not the hittiest ever. And he does need to grind Dave down in a war of attrition. So Dave's doing his double charges. That's interesting. Just see how he's arranging that. I'm gonna say I'm not sure he could do that. Because the other unit should be a bit further over. I'm gonna have to go and say something about that. Sorry, guys. No, you're right, they saw something that I didn't. So, well, only the units should have shuffled further over to the right. When the Brocks charged, actually the Brock Lord was blocking them from moving further over. So the positioning of the Brock Riders and the Iron Guard into the Revenants is correct. I thought they hadn't moved them over. But he had moved them over as far as they could go, and that's actually a really, I don't know whether it was deliberate, but it's a really clever positioning of individuals to block how far you can move to centre. And of course, there's nothing stopping you after that from moving your individuals elsewhere. It's a really common tactic to park an individual in such a way that it blocks your unit from sliding across if you don't want it to. The obvious example is where you use that to block your unit from sliding into terrain when you charge. Okay. So it's a tricky one what to do on this flank, because he's got his two expensive units, his Rangers and his Brocks, on that flank. The Rangers, I would say, are in moderate danger from the foe with wings. You can grind them down. Oh, we've come unplugged. Let me just stop and start that again.